I believe in the Big Bang and that we are all a part of this crazy explosion and we happen to be conscious for this little moment. And I think it's just like remembering that and just being like, go for it. Like, this is a crazy thing that we exist. Just like, may as well take some chances and do some stuff.
Hello and welcome to the Kyl Reber podcast. My name's Kyl Reber, and this is a podcast where every episode we interview somebody who's on the surface may be wearing a very cool redback bitter hat, and they are doing on the inside and to a lot of other people some extraordinary things, changing lives one day at a time, and just being an all-round good human. My next guest today has been referred to me, and we will get to the why soon. They are doing a very cool thing, and as we discussed off air, they are showing people of all ages, helping them realize their true human potential through the gift of something I know a lot of you know that I would love is music. So Jaymee Watkin.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Now, it is good. It's good to have you here. So I'm not going to give away what you do too fast because I want to work into it.
Okay, let's leave
But for those who are new to what we do, this is a series of questions, 10 questions. Jaymee got these questions a little while ago. Most people have notes. Some totally wing it. We are going to go off on more than one tangent. So I guess the best way to do this is to get started. Number one, which never goes for 7 minutes, but birth to now in 7 minutes. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okie dokie. So I was born in the Atherton Tablelands, which is up around Cairns. And yeah, both my mum and dad's families have been from there for, a couple of generations. And yeah, at that time I had an older brother, which I still have. He still exists.
That was like
He's still alive and well. And basically my childhood was a pretty fun one. Between the ages of 0 and 18 or 17, actually, I lived in 30 different houses.
Wow.
Because my parents honestly just had itchy feet. It wasn't like a particular job or anything. We just moved a lot.
What did they do?
My mum now is a nurse, and she was often in sort of different nursing, aged care kind of things, but now she's like a super boss ass nurse up in Lockhart River. In the community up there, she's just like doing a lot of awesome stuff. And my dad is he's a musician. And also just like, I guess you'd say an entrepreneur. He's done a lot of things.
Yeah.
Almost anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that meant I did go to a bunch of different schools, from like Malanda, which is the main town in the Atherton Tablelands that we'd always kind of return to, but also sort of Brisbane, Townsville, cattle station right out in the middle of Queensland where I did School of the Air. Old school of the Air on like a 2-way as opposed to, I bet now it's on like fancy stuff.
They do all online.
Yeah, true. Like right up on Thursday Island. It was all throughout Queensland, but that was fun. But then, yeah, we'd always sort of come back to Malanda.
So things like you would have, I guess, pros, you would have seen a lot of different culture.
Yeah.
Would it give you a real open insight into, I guess, the real Australia?
Yeah.
Cons, friends, like you sort of, as soon as you made friends, you were off again and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it was like honestly
get to you every now
quite
and
a
then?
number of times. It would be like one term, like 3 months, and then we'd be out again. And all of the school moving happened just in primary school. So from grade 6 onwards, we're back in Malanda,
Okay.
just moving within Malanda's zone. But I do think it was mostly a pro for me because I was, as a really small kid, extremely shy, and my parents have stories of me hiding in the corner and screaming, "Don't look at me!"
Yeah, right.
And then as we moved to different schools, I think I did just sort of develop like sort of an ability to be like, oh, actually, it's okay. New people are cool.
Yeah.
Let's get to know them. And I even remember a really specific one when I was in grade 4,
Mhm.
and we were going to a new school in Townsville. And I got there and I just knew the situation so well that the teacher is going to put me with
You knew the
the
drill.
kids that are going to give you like the best chance, which is
Mm.
very often sort of the quote unquote most popular kids. And I remember getting there one day and being like, you know what? I'm going to try a different path this time because
Yeah.
I'm getting how this works. And I went and hung out with, you know, the less like central kids and the sort of alternative kids over this way. And for that term, I was just with this really cool, interesting group that was totally different to every other time when the teacher just chooses who you're going to end up with. And I think all of that moving did just kind of give me a confidence in meeting different people and that kind of stuff.
And you figured out who your tribe was.
Yeah, for sure. And just understanding that, I don't know, there's a lot of different kinds of people out there, and yeah, being open to that.
Okay.
I think.
So high school in Malanda.
Malanda, and in that time, my younger brother Timmy was also born.
Mhm.
He's 7.5 years younger than me.
Mhm.
But yeah, then we were back in Malanda for the rest of it, and that was pretty great. It's
Mhm.
like very foresty, lots of big, beautiful lakes, and yeah, as I said, my family is very musical. So their mum was always trying me out on different things, just sort of giving me a guitar or
Yep.
like giving me the keyboard and being like, what's going on?
Yep.
What are you liking here? And then when I was, I reckon 14, mum and I went into a music shop to buy some guitar strings or something for my dad. And we looked up, and on the second level in lights was this deep purple drum kit.
Was this like?
It honestly was like that. And I looked up and I said, "Mom, it's my drum kit." And she was like,
Oh shit.
"All right, let's get it." And like we were not well off in the slightest, but she bought it that day, piled it into our little car,
my
and took
God.
it home. And from that day, I played the drums.
I can't help but show my age here and just go straight to Wayne's World, where Garth is in the store
Yeah,
and he just does this.
Yeah.
I like to play.
it was exactly that.
Was it exactly
Yeah, it was
that?
exactly that.
What sort of music were they listening to?
It was predominantly country.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, cool. Okay, because that is one of my answers to one question later. But yeah, no, we grew up on, you know, music that like a lot of the Waifs and Missy Higgins, that kind of thing, but also like Keith Urban and
Hmm.
like way back when I was really young, I do remember a lot of like Garth Brooks and just the country. And that's kind of,
Is there a song that you'll hear on the radio and you start singing the words and you go, oh, fuck, so I have my parents to blame for this or something?
I
like
mean,
that?
honestly, again, I have leaned into it hard. Like,
Yeah.
I don't play, like, perform much country music, but unless I'm playing with my dad, but it's more of a fantastic feeling when some random song comes from
Yeah,
somewhere,
I know.
and I'm like, I know every word to this country music banger.
And it's just in your head. I always had that back when I was working nightclubs at the Caxton Hotel at 3:30 in the morning
Yeah.
when the Gambler would come on.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it word for fucking word due to my father.
Yeah, true.
And they're going, how do you know this? It's like,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a long story.
Uh-huh.
All right. You finished high school. You've got the
Yep.
drum kit.
Yeah.
What happens now?
I was a little confused as to what to do. My mum nearly said, like, she was like, why don't you just go to the army for a bit?
Mhm.
And I kind of did the tests and stuff and was pretty much in the army. And my older brother, Dino, called me from Brisbane and said, don't, come on, come down here. I don't think that's for you. And he had been playing covers gigs in Brizzy for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And he was like, I've got all these gigs locked in, just come on down. And I was like, all right. And so I moved down here when I was 17 and just started playing 3 or 4 gigs a week with Dino, just at like the RE and the Vic and everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's how I really learned to play the drums. Like, I appreciate Dino for playing with a really shocking drummer for a year or two there. But I
Isn't
got my
that
chops
probably-
up.
Isn't that probably you would know in your musical history?
Yeah.
Didn't so many musicians start bands and learn to play in the band?
For sure. I think
I hear that story
yeah.
of you too. Larry
Yeah.
Mullen didn't
Yeah.
know how to play drums. Like they just went, oh, well, you can be the drummer.
There you go.
Yeah.
You've just got to get it together. And I think that pressure can often
Would have
be good.
motivated you
It's just like,
too.
damn, all right. I mean, obviously my biggest stints of getting better as a drummer is when there's a giant gig coming up and I'm not there for it. So I'm like, drum. But yeah, so I just moved down here, got a job at Sanity Music,
Oh.
played lots of gigs with Dino. And then sort of started meeting some other really cool musicians
Mhm.
and moved into West End
Mhm.
and started playing drums for some like gypsy jazz kind of folky band.
As you do.
Exactly. You got to move into that zone. Moved in and then met somebody and we're in a band called Mosky Joe, which was a super fun, beautiful Brizzy band. And in that time, I had been friends with somebody whose name is Emma Louise, and she's like
Mhm.
she became quite a big pop star,
Mhm.
both here but also in Europe.
Mhm.
And we lived together for a bit, and then she blew up and just sort of went touring. And then one day, I must have been, I think, 23. She called me, and I hadn't spoken to her for about a year, and she called me and said, Jaymee, what are you doing next week? Do you want to come to Paris and play a gig with me? And I was like, yes, I do.
Let me
And-
think about it.
Yeah. And again, that was sort of this rascally little hippie West End kid just like tapping away. And all of a sudden we had these big gigs in Paris. So I just dropped everything and learnt the hell out of these like big sort of pop songs. Flew to Paris with Emma, played those couple of gigs. And then that kind of just led to about 5 years of sort of constant touring and stuff, both in Europe as well as like these crazy like arena shows supporting Sam Smith and all of the big Aussie music festivals like Splendor and Groove in the Moon, and recording albums in France and crazy stuff. So that was a really big sort of exciting time for
Would
me
have
as a
been.
drummer.
And again, something you just kind of, like you said, you got the phone call.
That's it. You got the phone call. You just have to say yes to it,
Yeah.
like, because it's too exciting of a thing. And I think that is one of those things where, like, you could really question yourself and be like, no, I can't do this. Like, I'm not good enough. Or you can just be like, I have to.
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
I'm just going to work hard enough. It's going to be a crazy 2 weeks, but let's just do it.
How did you find that lifestyle?
It was a whirlwind. Being a session drummer is a crazy adventure because like you do go on these amazing adventures and all this cool stuff happens. And I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it was also quite difficult to come back to my little life and
Would be.
sort of, you know, I'm not maintaining it as well. You know, like you sort of, I think my mind was kind of exploded as to like how big the world is and how you can take on any opportunities.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about drumming and a lot about realizing being around famous people or, you know, people who might seem intimidating and realizing that there's nothing to be intimidated by.
They're just a person.
In fact, the people who seem intimidating are probably just feeling really self-conscious and it's all good. You can just be
100%.
like,
I can agree with that totally.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, they're just a person.
absolutely.
And I mean, look, there's some out there that take that too far and they want their ass kissed, but the greater majority of them, you know, especially that I've seen in musicians, they're trying, sometimes they're doing this
Yeah.
to cover up, you know, insecurity
Absolutely.
somewhere
So
else.
much pain. Yeah.
You know, like that's their way of
Yeah.
speaking.
I also found that like, I think it was a really good experience as a musician. You know, you can have those giant dreams, like that craving to be a certain amount of famous or whatever. And I, on those tours, would talk to people who were doing so well and were so well known, but still they were aching to be bigger again and bigger again.
Yeah.
And I realized that if you don't feel satisfied when you're playing gigs to your friends, you're probably still not going to be satisfied no matter how far you get on that journey.
Yeah.
And I think I feel really lucky that I got to realize that early, to be like,
Oh,
it's not like, just enjoy where you're at right now.
how big is big enough?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing for you. Like, yeah, you would have a friend of mine, he said something similar. He said, no matter whether it's 10,000 or 100 or I'm always just playing to just a bunch of my mates.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, the size of the show doesn't change the way he plays.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So touring's done.
Yeah.
What happens then?
So really sort of amidst the touring, whenever I came back, just to sort of continue getting money, I started to teach a little bit of drums downstairs at my house.
Okay.
And the neighbors actually, turns out, don't like drummers next door.
Who'd have thought?
It's crazy.
You're in West End. I thought that would have been standard issue.
No,
For those listening from other places, West End is a very eclectic part of Brisbane.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I wasn't able to drum there for very long. And my partner at the time and I found this shipping container music studio on Gumtree. I was lying there at like 5 a.m. just sort of racking my brain. How can we play music without all this stuff happening? And we went and checked it out that day and just like scrounged together every bit of money we could and bought it and shipped it to this old industrial estate, which at the time had like 350 wrecked cars in it. And we just put the container there, got a generator to power it up, and I started teaching drums out of that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just sort of a really beautiful time for me. Amidst all the touring and stuff, I found it really grounding just to be hanging out with these kids and getting to know them each week and just sharing the joy of music. And there was none of that other stuff was happening. It was just like me and you adventuring in music together.
It probably helped you to slow down too.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I guess that might lead into where we are doing now.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? What's the thing? What's your thing now?
So I own a super special place called the Buttery Music School.
Where does the buttery come from?
It is, so I had to come up with a name for my school at the same time as a name for my super precious band that I'm still in now, called Buttercats. And names are hard.
Oh yeah.
And so I was kind of just writing down words that are associated with the kind of funky music that we like to make. And buttery was just sort of one of those like funky buttery music. And then I kind of liked the idea of the music school being like a butter factory, like churning out funky tunes pretty much. And I just like the way it sounds.
It does.
The Buttery Music
School. Sounds good. So give us the 1 minute version. What is the Buttery? So it's a music school?
It is.
Independently
It's a music school. There's currently 12 teachers and about 130 students aged 5 to somebody in their 70s. We teach, all the rock kind of things: drums, guitar, bass, singing, keys, a bit of like DJ and DIY recording. And we're our main thing is all about celebrating people of all types who especially like don't quite fit into the box
Yeah.
that society is like, this is the tiny box, this is how well you're meant to focus, this is what you're meant to be interested in and good at. At the Buttery, it's really exciting because we ensure that we have sort of the space and the patience to adventure in just music and life with people.
Yep.
In a way that they're able to sort of express who they are and find who they are and then lean into that. And that's what's so cool about music, is that
There isn't a fit.
there's not a fit.
And this is, well, two things. If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably saw just then how passionate Jaymee is speaking. And like, you can see that this is your, like, you know, we say this is your passion, but I would say this is your life's work.
Yeah.
Say this is your purpose.
Yeah, I do. Honestly, I've got to say, I do feel really lucky to have sort of found my way into this zone, because I do feel very focused on it. I'm quite obsessed with it, and I can.
And that's one reason it's probably so successful.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I will always say, and this place is similar, you don't find it, it finds you.
Yeah.
And I think hearing the way that it's kind of, I mean, you've obviously had to work hard at it, and we'll talk more about that. And as we said off air,
Yeah,
it's not without its challenges, and it's not without its what the fuck was I thinking moments.
absolutely.
But you can see, and with a 16-year-old daughter of mine that's very much a devotee of your school. Go Lila.
Go Lila.
There isn't a demographic, is there?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
for sure.
If
No.
I would say what sort of person goes to the Buttery, can you describe a person?
Not really, no.
That's a good thing, though.
It's an amazing thing, because again, what we like to celebrate is diversity. Like, yeah, we do have a lot of like just awesome little 5-year-olds who come straight in and start by just adventuring in music, and we just raise them all the way up until they're a rad guitarist in a band or whatever.
And you'd already, because the
that's sort of-
Buttery's been open since 2018.
That's right.
You'd have a few little success stories lurking around.
We do, and it's amazing to watch them. But yeah, no, we ensure that we're a space for all kinds of people, and I think because of that, we do draw in some really interesting and eccentric kind of people. We're connected with organizations like Open Doors, which is a sort of queer and trans organization to ensure that like people in the queer demographic have a space that they feel comfortable. And we've just started collaborating with this other crew called Digi Youth Arts, which is like a
awesome
First Nations crew for things. So yeah, we're all about just being there for everyone.
So what do you do at the Buttery that's different to a high school music class?
Good question.
Because this is, and I say this because I think I can see it,
Yeah.
but I want you to say it.
Cool. Well, but like something that we get called up and asked about all the time is a parent will call and say, I had music lessons when I was a kid and they sucked and I hate playing music.
Yep.
And
I can sympathize.
Our entire approach is pretty much the opposite, where it's like we help you to feel confident and excited about music and realize how cool it is. And then as you're adventuring in it, you get excited to want to learn the technicalities and how to do it so that you can express yourself in the ways you can.
Yeah.
So it's basically about just making music fun.
Yeah, I can very much sympathize with that. Going to primary school in the 80s.
Yeah.
So the school music program, you get picked for an instrument.
Yeah.
I got picked for trombone.
I knew you were going to say trombone.
Why did you know trombone? Consequently, me and trombone didn't last terribly long. I think I endured it until high school, and then I just went, no. Had I been picked for something else, who knows?
Maybe different.
But yeah, I think seeing that and almost, well, that encouragement of diversity,
Yeah,
something that I do see very much in the Buttery.
absolutely.
What is so now you've got 12 staff, did you say?
Yep.
And they're musicians themselves.
They sure are.
How does one start to work for the Buttery? How does that happen?
Well, pretty much.
Because some of them, like Lila's singing coach,
Yeah,
they're performing and touring
Yeah.
themselves. So is that, how would I put it? Is that that would be good marketing, because you've got people who are singing, performing,
yeah,
like, well, this is here,
Yeah.
they're there.
absolutely.
Surely, again, it's not that you'll let them decide for themselves, but
Yeah.
they, because I think a lot of your artists are very, they're passionate about music too. But yeah, how does one start to work for the Buttery?
I guess a few different ways. Often it's sort of by, I will just put the word out to all of the musicians I know / in the like Facebook groups of musicians in Brizzy. And then they'll reach out, and we do get a lot of people reaching out. And
Yeah,
then we just meet up and we just vibe each other pretty much.
There's not a lot of schools doing what you do in Brisbane, is there? Is there any schools other than what you do?
Not specifically what we do, no, not music schools. There are some really cool friends doing amazing like music workshops and things like that.
But not the week in, week out thing.
Not the week in, week out, which is exciting. And I'm so
100%.
excited that it's there.
It's almost weird that there isn't more people doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I
Or
agree.
it took till 2018
Yeah,
for this to happen.
it is funny. I think it's just a little example of Brisbane's sort of music and arts scene growing, I think. But yeah, I do love having like real working professional musicians who've got different amounts of experience, like
Yeah.
touring or recording or gigging, or like in, just all of the different areas that a professional musician experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we finish this question, which never goes for 7 minutes. So right now the Buttery is very busy.
So busy.
100 plus students, did you say 130 or something?
Yeah.
5 days a week?
And a little bit on Saturdays.
So for you, that's pretty much you at the moment. Or you're in a band yourself?
Yep. That's me. I am in a band. And sometimes I fill in for like actor's drummer and things like that. But yeah, honestly, the Buttery is taking up all of my time right now, which I love.
I was going to say, is there ever a before we move on to the next one, is there ever a point where you go, God, I wouldn't mind going back to the life I had? Or do you, and then like we said off air, you sort of have that really hard moment.
Yeah.
And then you just have this random kid, say, oh, you guys are awesome. Yeah. All right, I'm back. I'm back doing it.
I definitely do. I think anyone, like, no matter how obsessed with their business or whatever it is they're doing, you have those moments. My main struggle that I'm having right now is just trying to find time to drum still. I'm in my band, so when I got to do those things, but just like drumming is a lot of my mental health as well, just sitting down and just playing some drums. And I do crave just having an hour or two a day to just play some drums, even a week.
A major mentor of mine, and he's in his 70s, and he's been doing martial arts for 62 years. He has a saying, he goes, no matter how much you teach, don't forget to train.
That's it.
Yeah. You have to do it.
Exactly.
It's leading by example. It's, them seeing that you're getting in the time too.
That's it. You just got to do it. So that's the part that I'm thinking about and focusing on. Besides that, it's always nice to have more time to just chill and have a brewski with the mates.
Isn't it?
It is.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, 3 reasons you get out of bed every morning.
Okay. Number 1 is that it's an absolute miracle that we exist and we're conscious of the
Mhm.
fact that we exist.
Mhm.
So I do have this overwhelming urge to just get up and soak it up.
Are you an early riser?
Oh yeah, I get up like 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah, is that early? I don't know.
Yeah, it's early-ish.
It's early-ish.
Yeah.
Are you an early riser?
Yeah, I was up at 4 this
Yeah,
morning.
yeah.
You got that
Yeah.
impression.
You seem like a 4 a.m.
Yeah, sometimes it's harder than
Yeah,
others.
yeah.
That would have been a little bit harder to do on tours.
Yes. Oh Lord, yeah.
That would
Definitely.
have been when you were going to bed some mornings, wasn't it? Or
Sometimes.
later.
Yeah, I learned a lot about how to deal with the free alcohol on those trips.
Yeah, the riders are the worst.
Yep. Yep. When you're asking for the nice whiskey, you're gonna later.
You got a 2 and a 3?
Take your time. Number 2, let me just check on my notes here. Yeah, number 2 is just connecting with people.
Yep.
Just like, even like, whether it's just people watching, let alone, the connections, connecting with people rules. And number 3 is music.
Would you believe?
Would you believe? It's so obvious I shouldn't even say it, but again, just like whether it's putting on some D'Angelo while I make breakfast. Do you know D'Angelo? Yeah. Or again, like I said, just sitting down and having a drum.
Yep.
That's the stuff.
Do you because there's always music playing in our house.
Yeah.
And I think this is one thing where, well, Lila and Ivy, we don't really have a preferred genre.
Yeah.
We'll be listening to country in the morning and then Pearl Jam in the evening.
Great.
Do you have a genre, or are you sort of like I'll just jump to here and that sounds cool, and then you listen to that for the next 2 hours or 2
Yeah.
days,
I
jump in and out?
I go through phases, I find.
Same.
I do find like soul, neo soul, funk is a space I'm often in. But then I like right now, I'm listening to a lot of like Chris Stapleton, which is some wonderful country. And then I'll jump over to some like sort of gangster pop music, like I don't know, Dua Lipa or something. So
God.
yeah, I like, oh God. Yeah.
It's funny, like in high school, we used to have like crowds, and you could tell by the t-shirts they listen to that music, and then they listen to that music.
Totally.
I was never like that.
Yeah.
Like I was listening to
You didn't want to box yourself into it.
I was listening to the bad 80s pop as much as I was listening to, because like country music for me was big when I was a kid, but then I'm sort of knocked around with a bunch of boys about 3 or 4 years older than me. So I was getting Sex Pistols, The Jam, The Damned, The Cult, and like still listen to those bands now. But I think it's good that, because you would have kids coming in wanting to play a certain type of music, and then you go, have you thought about this? They go, fuck, I really like that.
For sure. Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful things. Like I feel like
can play that again.
totally. Sometimes one of the best lessons is just at the end of the lesson when you say, okay, your homework this week is to listen to this album from the 80s.
Yeah.
Boom, that's all you gotta do.
How good is that? I would do that. I would have always done that. Homework.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 3. 2 guilty pleasures that you have.
Currently, one is I love to fill a whole mug with Cocoa Pops and this much milk. I love to do it. It's not even my Cocoa Pops. It's my housemate. So that's a guilty pleasure.
That's hilarious.
And number 2, I had written down was country music.
Yeah.
I'm pretty, it's a guilty pleasure, but I'm pretty outward about it. All of my friends always, know about me and my country music. But some say that's a guilty pleasure. So I'm writing it down. The fact of
the matter is too, and I mean, firstly, it's really had a revival over the last 5 years.
Beyonce's releasing
oh my God,
music album right now.
It's there's sellout shows, sellout tours, but I think it's again, you've got to ask the people who give you shit for listening to a genre of music.
Yeah.
Why are you giving me shit about it?
We do what we want. I'm not hurting anybody.
I remember I remember a very, very young Keith Urban having to stand on side of stage with him at
Yeah.
the Urban Country Music Festival
Yeah.
at Caboolture.
Yeah.
Now look at the guy.
Look at him now.
You know,
Living
it's all
it
right.
up, I
It's all
think.
right.
Yeah.
It's, the Cocoa Pops.
Mm.
What happens when the flatmate figures out that all the Cocoa Pops are gone?
I mean,
Is it just you and the
Cocoa
flatmate?
Pops- No, you know what? There's 9 of us.
Oh, fuck, you can just blame anyone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So,
9,
like,
let's go. You've got 9 in
No.
one house.
I always think it's 9, but it's got to be 8.
Okay, that's
I
fine
live
then.
out my partner and I actually live out in like a little shack, beautiful little shack out the back.
Yeah.
And then there's my brother and his partner, and then it's a giant house plus our shack out the back. It's actually like, it's been redone and it's beautiful now, but it's the oldest house in West End.
Wow.
In some tour books or something,
Oh
and it used to be a bunch of apartments, but then they turned it into one house.
Right.
So we're not like cramped into one room or anything. And it has a well.
A well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And an attic, like a cool attic.
Oh my God. There'll be some interesting Saturday nights in that house, wouldn't there?
You know what? There has been. I mean, these days everyone's pretty just busy and doing our things, but it's a great house.
Oh.
But the point is, I think the Cocoa Pops, amidst the chaos of that, nobody's going to say anything.
Is your flatmate going to be listening to this podcast?
I assume so.
It's out of the bag. You're going to have to leave here, stop at the store, get some Cocoa Pops.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I should do that.
Peace offering. Yeah. Okay. Number 4. One thing that you bought that has literally made you happy every day after.
Yeah, this one was actually quite tricky.
I want to say drum kit, but then there's something else.
Well, I mean, the drum kit is the obvious one. I bought this beautiful.
Do you still have the deep purple drum kit?
You know what? A funny story there is my parents bought me that kit, as you know, and then I brought it down to Brizzy, was playing my gigs on it, and then did this Emma Louise thing, and I was like, okay, I need a fancier drum kit for these big shows. I'm going to have to sell this purple kit, Mum and Dad. And they said, please don't do it. I said, I have to fund this kit. And then they bought it back off me.
Oh
so
my God.
They bought that drum kit twice. So now it's up at my dad's place.
It's in the Jaymee Watkin Musical Museum.
That's right. And so I do play it when I'm up at my dad's. But I bought this really beautiful big CNC drum kit. CNC is like this just really nice brand from America. And it's my dream kit. It's my dream kit with my dream cymbals. It makes me sound like a total legend. Like when I play that kit, I'm like, I sound like a good drummer right now. It's probably this drum kit though.
Okay.
So that, or I did find this really great silver chain in Sydney last weekend, and I thought, now I feel complete, with the hat and the chain. So it'd be between the drum kit or the silver chain. Is that all right?
It's your stuff. You tell me.
That's what I'm going with.
What so with the drum kit, I guess like a prized possession or whatnot, but is this like a thing where so in martial arts you don't touch another person's sword.
Mm-hmm.
You don't fucking play my drum kit, like this is my drum kit.
Sadly, it is not like that. Currently in our
So every time you get back on it, you got to fucking readjust the seat, and they've shifted that.
My students don't know how lucky they are right now, because the only way I'm able to play my kit right now is if I set it up for all of the students to learn on. So they're actually playing on this like $6,000 drum kit, and they don't even. I'm like, this is a really nice kit, guys. And they're like, whatever. So no, I'm definitely sharing the love on the kit. But that's what's cool about the drums is you smash them anyway. They're so robust. So a couple scratches here and there. I'm not too fussed.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Number 5. One thing that one thing everyone thought you were crazy doing, but did it anyway, and it paid off.
Yes. A few things ran through my mind here, but I think I'll say You remember the grand floods of, it wasn't the 2011 ones, it was like
No.
around 2019, I think.
2021.
21. That was it.
21, I think it was.
And at that point, we had 7 studio shipping containers that we owned in that industrial estate that I was talking about. And it's also an epic flood zone. And I was down in Tasmania, and I was actually really quite hungover, I guess. And and then I woke up to my phone didn't have much reception or battery, and I saw all these things of like, okay, the floods are happening, and you might have to your containers might be about to be completely destroyed, but everyone in the industrial estate was kind of insisting not to do anything about it because it's all going to be fine. Don't worry, don't worry. And I was down there and I had, again, it was on like 2% battery, and I just sat and looked out at the ocean and I thought, I've got to call a crane right now.
Yep.
I can tell I've got to call a crane. And everyone was already saying nobody could get cranes anywhere. And I just got onto Google and I went like this on the crane thing and just stopped and clicked it. And this man called Dave, I saved in my phone as Dave the Angel, because he was like, I'm on it. And he took his crane down and it was pouring rain in here, and some of my amazing Buttery friends / some of the mentors went and they shipped all 7 of the studios out up onto higher ground.
Wow.
And then that night it filled 2.5 meters high with water. And it was one of those moments where everyone was like, this is silly, you're completely overreacting, don't do it. And I just felt like, I think it's worth this, like thousands of dollars of this crane right now. I think we have to do it. And it was a real moment of just trusting your gut.
Better to be over than
like,
under.
you got to do it. Let's go. So it's a story of that.
Probably a decent time now. Oh no, we'll leave it a little bit later on. But the space you were in at the Buttery there.
Yeah.
You having to move all those containers.
Yes.
That's a fucking big operation.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you moved them back up onto high ground.
Yep. Yep. And we just kept them there for, I think we had to keep them there for like a week, because once everything went down, there was like issues with like the sewage water and all different things. But
yeah, because where you were is that's floodplain central.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it was good to get out of there. But yeah, being kicked out, that is actually.
Oh, I'm sure that I'm thinking that's got question 8 written all over
it. Does actually.
And we'll get to that, people. And can I tell you, it's a really fucking good story. It's fucking good to have the fucking nice guys win every now and then.
Too right.
4 things you cannot live without: animate or inanimate.
Okay.
Drum kit.
Drum kit. Well, actually, yes. But first, I've got outdoor showers.
Okay.
The little shack that I was just talking about out the back, we do have an outdoor shower. And I wake up each morning and start my day with the shower, and the sun shines straight onto the water as it comes down, and it just looks like pouring down magical crystals into my hands. And I feel like those 2 minutes is just like a really important start to my day, and it just like brings me into the moment and feels like I could be, I don't know.
Are you a cold shower?
It depends on how I'm feeling. But 30% of the time it's a cold shower. Yeah. Yeah. In the summer right now it's cold shower.
Yeah. Not in July.
Not unless I'm feeling brave or wild.
We'll need to wake up really quickly.
But yeah, the cold showers rule.
Okay.
Number 2 is drumming.
Yep.
Kind of for the reasons I said before. It's just it is just the thing for me as well. It's just like brings me back into myself. It's like a meditation, a way to express, a way to let things out. and a way to connect when I'm jamming and stuff like that with others.
Have you found now that this is one thing I get told with martial arts, because martial arts is my passion, but now it's also become my job.
Hmm.
Because music has become your job now, do you still have that ability to go, I'm in play mode right now?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because I have it, because I have like other hobbies now that I
Yeah.
will try to, like, I still love martial arts, but there'll be other hobbies that I'll do sometimes because it's just a way to completely, like, I'm not working or
Yeah.
any sort of zone. Do you still find that you can just switch off and drum and not feel like you're working?
Yeah, I did find that a lot harder when my main job was actually the gigging
Correct.
and the recording and the actual playing and having to learn songs or
Because like
come
you
up
said,
with
oh,
songs
fuck,
and
I've got to
stuff.
learn these songs. I've got to learn these
Exactly.
songs.
Like then it would be a little bit more like, God, what am I doing? Like, what's it? I'm hitting stuff. Like, I don't, it'd get kind of existential sometimes. But now that with the Buttery, honestly, my main job isn't so much actually playing the music as it is
No, you're
talking to people and
boss.
doing the
You're boss person.
I'm boss person. That's right. A lot of computer time, really. Which means that it is actually a lot easier to let loose on the drums like I used to, which is cool.
You would have heard of a band called Block Party.
Oh yeah.
I love watching Louise Bartle
Mm-hmm.
just on her Instagram,
Oh
just
yeah.
put on a song and just fuck around and
I
play.
follow her on Instagram.
I could watch her for hours.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, like we've seen Block Party a bit live.
That's cool.
And I watch her more than Kelly.
Hell yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
she's
that is
just-
one hell of a band.
She's just amazing. And
Yeah.
just the way you can see she's just so in that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's written a bit about doing drumming for her mental health as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have a
Makes
look at
sense.
her.
I will.
You got a number 4? Or
Number 4, actually, well, number 3 is the people,
Mhm.
obviously, and number 4 is adventure. Just like,
What's your most recent adventure?
I mean, my partner and I did catch a train down to Sydney last weekend, a 13-hour train.
That's fucking unheard of.
It is unheard of. It's odd.
The last time I would have caught a train that far, 1993, me and 3 mates from home, Maryborough, where I grew up,
Uh-huh.
we caught a train from Maryborough to Brisbane and then Brisbane to XPT to Sydney, to see Pearl Jam at
cool.
Eastern Creek Raceway.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, it's fucking forever.
It is forever, but it was like, it's quite beautiful. Like,
It is.
quite an amazing way to,
If you've got a little bit of time.
yeah. And, we left at 5 a.m. So you see the sunrise, the train just sort of goes straight into the dense forest and then like flowing valleys. And
Yeah, right.
so we actually had a good time and then went down and saw some awesome music. So,
And does that just sort of come up like, let's go to Sydney, fuck it, let's catch a train? Like,
you know what? The flights were
or the flights were just outrageous.
sold out and they were like 351 way. And it turns out we didn't know until we got on the train. It was obviously because Taylor Swift.
Oh, dude, rookie
It
era.
was Taylor Swift.
Rookie
And
era.
the train was full of Swifties. And I was like, okay, here we go. Which was really, no, the Swifties were great. And it was like, it was awesome. But we were like, of course, why didn't we realize?
Probably
But
just,
yeah.
just on that, is there any music like, and I have full respect for Taylor Swift, and Lila was a Taylor Swift. She worked out of the Melbourne show.
Yeah.
Is there any music that the kids go, oh, can we play this? And you go, do we have to fucking play that? Really? Like, is there any music? Is there something else?
There is actually a really chaotic genre that seems to be, it's really strange, but it's like come out of, I can't remember, it's like Minecraft or some video game, but like the music is like no other genre I've ever heard. It's like this weird video game dubstep techno, like it's just like and it's like there's a video of a cat spinning on the screen and
Oh
it's
my
like
God.
oh, okay, let's drum. Yes,
How
let's
do
drum
you
to
even-
this.
Oh.
Like you just put it on and then you just like, I don't know, watch them and just, okay. I'm just trying to keep up with the times, I guess.
Good lesson. Good lesson. That's it.
So there's that chaos, but besides that, no, I'm down for all the genres.
Just give it a whirl.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
That's fun. All right. Number 7. If
Yes.
you were not doing what you were doing in life right now, what would have been option number 2?
Yeah, I reckon I love working with groups of kids so much. I reckon I would honestly just be like a straight up teacher at a primary school, and maybe to make it extra fun, I'd take that teaching job to different parts of the world, try and just teach in all different places because I guess it's cool that you're a teacher.
So go to the Jaymee in like grade 11 in high school. What was there something you were gearing up to be, or was there something that you went, okay, I guess this is what I'm going to do? Because you certainly wouldn't have gone, oh, I'm going to tour internationally and do this and do that.
I didn't expect that.
No, I don't think anyone does.
It's pretty, to be honest, something I guess I didn't mention in my life story is I did do swimming training 5 a.m. till 7 a.m., 5 p.m. till 7 p.m., like Monday to Friday.
Okay.
Throughout all that time. And so I guess, honestly, I was like, will I be a swimming coach? Like, something like that. But I enjoyed drama. I really didn't know. When I was in grade 11, I was just like very laissez-faire.
Yeah.
Which is why my mom ended up being like, I don't know, join the army. What are you doing?
I say this a lot because I think you're about you'd be, by the time we put this to air, probably about the 12th or 13th episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
I reckon it's only one person that we've interviewed that when it came to the conversation about school, actually knew what they wanted to be.
Isn't that interesting?
Or had a good relationship with school.
Yeah.
And it's very hard because, like, as a dad, I certainly didn't have a good relationship with school.
Yeah.
I chose not to have a good relationship, I said. I think I was a smart kid, but it was grade 11 and 12 was just 2 years straight partying for me.
Yeah.
But to have now a 16-year-old daughter in grade 11 who kind of has got an idea what she wants to do.
Yeah.
You got to say to them, you just need to keep going because just so you have options.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't say like, oh, fuck school. Like you'll go play in a band. You'll be fine. You'll land on your feet.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That's it. Yeah.
And I think for you to have found that again, organically, like back to the phone call.
Totally.
What if you didn't answer the phone?
I know.
What if you'd fucking moved out? What if you go, oh, look, I've got this job and I really can't do it right now.
That's it. Yeah. I feel like just saying yes to opportunities and like being open to things is just a really important part of life. And yeah, I agree. It would feel like that with school things. But then at the same time, I do still feel like, if Lila decided like, I really don't want to do this. I just want to go play music. Then I feel like these days, she could just like go off and do her entrepreneurial thing.
As you and I both know, 30 years ago, your job and my job in Australia, they would not have existed.
For sure.
There's no way that you and I could both sustain reasonable incomes doing what we do for a living.
Yeah.
So the fact now that there is so much of an opportunity.
Definitely.
We've got professional YouTubers.
Absolutely.
We've got all this stuff. I think there is, and now we have like if Lila, to go and follow music.
Yeah.
She goes to a music school.
Totally.
And that's the sort of stuff that's different now.
Yeah.
You in school, as schools definitely become more flexible.
Yeah, I think so too. And experience-based like things for taking on opportunities and people see what you've actually experienced as opposed to school, I think does have a lot of weight. I mean, you know, if you wanted to be a teacher at the Buttery, I'm not too worried about what you did at school.
I would just go so far to say you don't give a shit.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
that's it. Yeah,
it's almost irrelevant. All right, this is going to be a good one.
yes,
This is going to be a good one.
yes.
Lay it out. One time you've backed yourself when everything was saying to just give up.
Yeah,
All right.
that's it.
I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you.
So it would have been 2 years ago now, almost like to the month at least. I received a call from a counselor guy, and he was just like, basically, we're going to kick you out. And I think we'd been there for, 5 years or so.
So you've obviously moved the containers back to the original.
Yep. So the
land.
floods happened. It caused us like quite a bunch of issues with like fixing things back up. And then we're going okay again. There was another flood scare. So it was already a bit
Yeah.
rocky. Obviously, COVID had thrown us around a bunch as well. But now this was sort of the big kicker after pushing through all of that. And they said, yeah, we're going to kick you out in a few months to develop the space. And it was actually led to 2 years of trudging through mud and having a really hard time. It really made me grow up as well and see the Buttery as my business that I'm the owner of.
Yeah.
Before that, it was a really organic process, and I sort of just brought great musicians
Play
in,
music
and
with
I
your
was like,
mates.
cool, we're doing this thing. There's all
Yeah.
these cool kids around. But then this happened, and it was like, hey, the community was incredible and so helpful. But at the same time, I realized that in another way, it was all on me to keep pushing through, because if I stopped, then it was going to just die right there.
So we had one thing we didn't talk about off air. We had a similar thing happen to us. 2017, similar call from probably similar council people.
Yeah.
We had breached, there'd been a complaint, we'd breached zoning requirements.
No. Yeah.
Same thing. It was about 12 odd months and a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And we discovered this place and there was all the stuff leading in, but the same thing.
Yeah.
You find, and you would like said, how many times in that did you just go, oh, fuck it, I'm out?
Yeah, a number of times. Every time like a new whack of money was requested of us, or every time another space was dropped, or more red tape, or another person said they can't help me like they thought they could. It was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Hello to everyone from Brisbane City Council listening.
Love you guys. Love your work. Keep fighting for the little guy.
You would have found, like us, you've got to really, no matter how much people are saying to you face to face, they're not the ones that are in the trenches making these decisions.
Yeah.
Forking out money,
That's
hand
it.
over fist.
Yeah.
But like you, I distinctly remember Helen having a conversation with this particular representative of council, just saying, this place has changed lives.
Yeah.
And this place has saved lives.
Absolutely.
Yet it's just a case of it doesn't fit in with what you want to do.
Yeah.
How rough was it to keep that, not just like a financial momentum, but keep that mental momentum?
Yeah, it was really hard. Like you feel like you're being crushed by this like big metal weight that you just like have no control over. And when you try and just like talk to their human side, they're just like, it's
don't
not up
care.
to me. Like, sorry, it's an old system. It doesn't make sense. Like, and I was just like, don't you think that sounds a bit weird? This is
Yeah.
the system. Like they at some points were telling me the only space legally zone wise I'm allowed to move is where the clubs are in the valley. I can move to where the clubs are in the valley. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense though, does it? Like that's not going to work as a little music school. And they were just like, well, it's the zones. I know it doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, just,
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how close did you come to giving up?
I'd say it was an 8.
That's fucking close.
It is really close. And, you know, it was,
So why wasn't it a 10?
you know why? Because every time I would try and think of what I'll do if I get rid of it,
Yeah.
it came straight back to being the buttery again. It was like another iteration. I'd be like, okay, I'll get rid of this. I'll start this new thing. And it's going to be where I get all these kids to learn music. I was like, oh,
That sounds familiar.
And I was like, it's happening again. And I just, every time I tried to think of something else, it would be there again. So I was like, well, I got to just keep at it. And I'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I actually cannot do this anymore, until it actually fully stops me.
Was there people, not to name anyone, but were there people there that said, you probably need to let this dog loose?
There were some, mostly it was like my amazing, really, really good friends who actually maybe paid enough attention to actually be like, wait, Jaymee, are you sure? Like, you know, because it also takes a lot of bravery and realness for a friend to come and tell you that when they see you trying so hard.
And
for them to be
passion,
like,
passion and emotion
yeah,
can blind a lot of rational decision making.
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
like you can't, you know, and again, another saying I say so much here is like, you let your passion pay the bills,
Yeah.
but it can only pay bills so much.
Mhm. Absolutely.
If there's no
And
money, then there's no money.
that's it. That's it. And at some point, like, if it kept going the way it was, then it could have been the end and we would have dealt with it, you know. But I do really appreciate those good friends because they did help me to question it extra, to be like, you know, plan it more and extra look at the expenses and the difficult things. And so if it
It's
wasn't for them,
part of the growing up that you
that's
said you
it,
had to do.
exactly. If it wasn't for them like checking in and being like, this might be a bad idea, then I probably maybe would have been in a worse situation, because that allowed me to be like, I still think it's worth it, and relook at the numbers and relook at my thoughts. So yeah.
So how did it, so it obviously worked out.
Yeah.
How did it work
Just-
out? What happened? At the end of the day, what was the outcome?
Well, really, I've only just came into the clear in the last month.
But you found a new space.
So I found a new space. An old friend, Lincoln, who owns a thing called Super Ordinary. They're like a really cool arts org. They were opening a new space in Hamilton, and he had this big courtyard. And, you know, about 8 months into looking for a new space, I came across Link, and he was like, dude, this is perfect. Come on over. And I was like, thank God, this is what we've been waiting for. And so we wrapped up things in Yeronga with all of our amazing community, held a big concert, said goodbye to.
You didn't have to worry about noise complaints.
Yeah, that's it.
Fuck you.
That's it. Said goodbye to everyone except maybe 20 or 30 students who still do the commute, like Lila.
Yeah.
And
because that was a
shipped our
big
containers over.
that was a big thing at the time. So geographics of Brisbane,
Yeah,
you literally had to move it to the opposite side of town.
that's it. Yeah.
So you would have had clear people go, that's great, congratulations, but that's too far for us.
Absolutely. It's like,
So you had to start probably again to a certain degree.
so a big worrying part of that move is we were losing our entire community and had to start again.
Yeah.
So
We
which is
found a
obviously
space,
scary.
but how are we going to pay for it?
We now have to pay rent, build up our whole world again instantly. So it was, yeah,
That's
still worrying.
That's another decision-making process.
Absolutely. And risk as well. Like, as much as I plan it, it's also like, okay, we're gonna have to take a chance. Move the containers over, and then basically the council come in, and for a few other reasons, both us and Super Ordinary actually can't have access to that space for a whole year. And so then we were like, right, we can't open for a year. And the crew, this crew called North Shore, which basically runs the entire suburb, said, hey, you know what? We've got some extra studios just down the road here. Why don't you come and use them for the year? So we did, and it was great. We had 3 studios, and it was like obviously a bit of a scramble for a while there, but we started building up the students bit by bit, and the mentors and I worked hard together to create these new curriculums and sort of redesigned the whole system to just sort of have more of a growth adventure for the kids. And again, I saw it as my baby a lot more now, and I leaned into it and like created a whole bunch more things to just make it a lot more legit.
I like the fact that you've said that it made you grow up.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny, like you talk about like, budgets and we're in the clear and we're this. And I often think the same thing. If that hadn't happened,
I
don't like us moving here. I've often said, do I write an email to that person at Brisbane City Council and go, hey, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Because since we moved here, we have not fucking looked back.
How amazing.
Thanks for kicking us out. It was actually a really good thing.
I completely agree. And back there, it was a floodplain, and I didn't take it as seriously at all, probably a quarter of the amount of seriously. So yeah, it was like that other thing of reminding yourself now, looking back, that even though that was so painful, I didn't sleep, I got shingles from stress, like now I am so lucky that it all happened. And it's just good to remember next time you're in a hard space, because it will happen, that it's like that diamond thing, it's crushing you into a beautiful diamond.
You've had some major things happen in your life based on phone calls, haven't you?
It's true.
You just throw that thing away.
Yeah. God.
So the Buttery now, like you said, you basically started a second whole community.
Yeah. So now we do have the same amount as our maximum number of people in Yeronga.
So how long have you been at Hamilton now? 2 years?
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
So in a year, you gained as many students as you had in the previous
6 years, 5, somewhere there, over there.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Why?
Because I'm actually properly active in it. I was in Yeronga. I was a really happy-go-lucky drummer who loved the energy of everybody coming along.
This is fun.
But now I'm like, all right, the Buttery Music School, let's party, let's do this stuff. And I'm just like really into it. And
have you actually given in and have like staff meetings and shit? And
yes. I'm bringing, you know what? I'm taking all the mentors out for a beer on Sunday.
Oh my God.
To celebrate hitting 120 students.
Oh, how good is that? How good is that?
But yeah, to finish that story, basically the council got onto us again with like certifiers and stuff. And it turns out the certification process on those studios got more and more and more and more intense over the last 6 months, that it was going to cost way more than we could handle. And I had a realization at the end of last year that I can't teach out of our studios that we've built over the years. So it was this huge heartbreaking realization at the same time as a huge weight off the shoulders. And so now I'm selling those studios, and we're signing a lease to permanently set up in the studios we were in all of last year, which is actually a really big step forward for the Buttery. I always kind of thought our shipping containers were what made us us, but it turns out that time is done and we've outgrown them. Moving in there.
I think it's evolution. It's like I said to you at the start, like our old people, our old, boys and girls and guys in here, they still remember the Scout Hall days.
Yeah.
When we did jiu-jitsu on bare wooden floor, and just, I think in order to grow, you have to evolve.
For sure.
Some people will use the term selling out.
Yeah.
I don't think they understand what is involved.
Mm-mm.
You know, you can be the same, you can have the same values and have the same product
That's it.
and just have a different face.
Well, you gotta keep existing, and sometimes, yeah, I think the evolution just looks completely different to what you ever could have imagined.
Fuck yeah.
So you've got to stay so open-minded to what it might look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There isn't a, and as you probably, you know, I have people who've opened clubs under me,
Yeah.
and I will say to them, if you want to know what to do right, sure,
Yeah.
but I'll give you a list of everything to fucking do wrong,
Yeah.
and that will actually probably help you more.
Definitely.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Uh-huh.
You know, you'll still do it,
Yeah.
but just don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, and you're, you know, again, how old is it? 30, 32?
32. Yeah.
So how much have you learnt about yourself with the Buttery? Not just since you opened, but just in that time
Yeah.
since you had all the stuff with council. Can
So
I,
much.
am I physically and mentally capable of doing this?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think my idea of myself and what I can handle has really developed, and I
100%.
appreciate it a lot. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Now, we've got two more.
Okay.
3 pieces of advice to people that are finding reasons to not back themselves, to instead back themselves.
Yes. Let's do it.
What do you
Okay.
got?
So, number one, it kind of relates back to one of my answers from before, is that I believe in the Big Bang and that we are all a part of this crazy explosion, and we happen to be conscious for this little moment. And I think it's just like remembering that and just being like, go for it. Like, this is a crazy thing that we exist. Just
Yeah.
like, may as well take some chances and do some stuff. That's number one.
It's not what if it doesn't work, it's what if it does.
That's it. That's it. I love that. Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
Okay. So a lot of the people I know who are in this boat, who find it really hard to back themselves, their main reason for not doing the things they want to do is that they're afraid of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's just really important to sort of change your view of failure to be something that you can be really proud of, and that, like, failure means that you were really brave.
Yep.
You tried. It's okay to try and fail. Like, that should feel so much better than just never having tried.
So on a week-to-week basis, how many times would you, or like not week to week, how many ideas have you had that you've gone and done and you've gone, that was fucking done?
Yeah.
Hundreds?
Yes, definitely. I have spent money and time on
What was the
silly
dumbest,
things.
what's one of the dumbest ideas you had and you went, what the fuck was
I
I
mean,
thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this will translate, but I tried to do this like sort of marketing thing when we were trying to get students, where I got myself and 2 of the Buttery teachers to put on this entire show for kids, and it was almost like a Wiggles-esque show. And we're like, hey, kids, it's like, here we go. And well, I was paying them to like come and for us to make it together, and we practiced it, and I booked us into a school, and it was just such an awkward,
Fucking disaster.
embarrassing moment. And I think we maybe got 1 student out of it, but that's an example of a thing that you try and you put effort into and it doesn't work. You're like, cool, all right, you know what, I can feel good that I don't have to wonder if that's going to work.
One thing that I got to mention here before we don't mention it at all was the way that you also had a really good idea and you recently got a grant.
I did.
And you got that grant through, I don't know, what would I call it? The voice of the people.
It was an incredible experience.
Tell us quickly about that.
So that's a community grant where you win it by having the most votes. And
You went fucking viral on
people really shared that thing. Like, we reached out, because a lot of our community has seen us through these really hard years, and even like had to do a GoFundMe at one point and stuff. So everyone has sort of watched us on the journey. And then I was like, yo, we've got a moment, we've got this chance to win this 10 grand, and this is going to really alleviate some really hard stuff. I think this is even going to get us over the line. And it was completely true. So I was just really transparent, and I would just post these videos on Instagram with updates every week or so. And it was stressful because it started on the 1st of December and ended midnight New Year's Eve. So through Christmas, through New Year's Eve. But
Are you on the beers New Year's Eve going fucking vote?
I'm at a music festival. Yeah.
Who are you? Vote.
I asked everyone at that thing to vote, and so did all of my friends. But the community experience in that was like, if we didn't win, just the experience of people getting behind us was like,
Oh,
just melted my heart. It was amazing.
and just the publicity.
Yeah.
So you won the grant.
Yes. Well, if you want to know a quick side story, when the votes closed at midnight, I looked at it, and another business had jumped somehow 1,000 votes in the final half hour, beat us. And then I had to email the organizers at 6 a.m. on New Year's Day and was like, this isn't right. And it turned out they like did all the things, and you got some investigators in, and it turned out one of the other businesses had gotten all bots for all of their votes.
No.
And it was a really, really intense situation. But it
Wow.
really added to the roller coaster. But anyway, thank you to the organizers for being so onto it. And but yeah, it added to the roller coaster a bit.
That's crazy.
But we did. We won the grant.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we've done 2 pieces. Was it 3?
There is a third. Okay. This is a 2-part thing. One, if you have got someone's couch to sleep on, if all goes to shit, then I think it's worth it.
I like that.
Think about the actual worst case scenario. And often it'll be like, I lose all of my money. I don't even have a place to live or a car. If you've got a couch to sleep on, it's very unlikely you'll need it, but you'll be okay.
That statement, is that a lived statement? Or metaphorically even?
Like, I haven't had to get to that point, but I guess in the way that that's saying, if you've got people who love you, like, you'll be okay. And in that way, if I didn't have people around me that loved me, I wouldn't have been okay. So.
And you've had some people that I'm sure, I'll say a young age of 32, you've gone through, there's people out there that have gone through worse, but you've had a fair bit of shit that you've gone through already. To have those people that have backed you, it's a good feeling, isn't it?
It's like, it is everything. Like, the whole reason the Buttery exists is because of community, and my friends and family are just, they are the reason it exists just as much as anything else. And yeah, they mean everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to what we follow here. I mean, like, we are a business and you're a business, but it is a community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
All right. Last one, number 10. You got a quote to live by?
Yes.
Oh, she's got it memorized.
It's a big one. It's 3 words.
Okay.
Soak it up.
Oh.
Just soak it up.
Watkin, 2024.
Yeah. Soak it up. Yeah, I just think, again, I go back to, the loving the adventure of life, and just remembering that it's just all pretty miraculous, and just like amidst it all, just, yeah.
So do you do what I do? I do this every now and then. So these mats behind us, I as I said to you before, like we were rolling and doing jiu-jitsu on bare wooden floor at
Yeah.
one point. When we got these mats put in 2 years ago, the following morning, I came in early, like about 5,
Yeah.
and I just sat on the mats and I just did this
Yes.
and just felt them.
Yes.
And one of the guys came in and goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I go, I'm sitting somewhere I never thought I would be sitting.
That's amazing.
Have you done the same thing?
Over and over.
At the end of the night when you're
Yeah.
locking up or whatever, do you just sit there for a minute and look and go,
You know, I had that moment just it's like maybe 3 days ago where all I did was bought a box of chalk and sat it in the waiting area before some lessons. And then I went away, did my thing, came back after just like 3 hours of lessons, and the concrete was completely chockers with drawings of just like rainbows and hopscotch, and kids had been writing like "Welcome to the Buttery," and it was just like you couldn't see a space of concrete, and it was just like that's the community, and that's all the
you
kids.
can't buy
and-
that?
Yeah, and I stood there. It was like 9 p.m. at night in the dark, and it was just me at my school looking at the concrete, and I was like, "That's it."
That's why I do it.
Yeah.
And the Buttery moving forward, like you said, you've got your development, you've got your evolution.
Mm-hmm.
This is you now.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you where do you see, I guess probably question 11, where do you see the Buttery in 10 years' time?
Ooh, 10 years. I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm contemplating that quite a bit
As
at
the
the moment.
students become coaches?
Yes, there'll definitely be a few of those.
Mhm.
I think the music lessons and the mentors will just always be this beautiful developing thing. And then I think on top of that, all of the workshops and band camps and things, I'm very excited to continue developing, obviously, because again, it's more about connecting everyone. So I think the Buttery in 10 years will be a whole bunch of students and mentors just connecting and having a good time playing music, as well as some insane band camps and I'm also very excited for the Buttery to sort of take these songwriting, mental health kind of workshops into not just schools, but also like juvies and different kind of spaces that need this kind of stuff. And I guess also just the path for kids. Like I'd really love to get to see some kids just get to go all the way through to being musicians who get to tour, and we've got the connections for people to record and play festivals and all these things. And so I think the Buttery will be churning out some really rad musos.
Well, I know one kid who is 100% on board.
Heck yeah.
With that. Jaymee, thank you. I think thank you for what you do. Thank you for sticking it out, because you had more than one opportunity to go fuck this. And thank you for the influence you have given other kids who maybe have those moments where they don't believe in themselves, but there's this crazy person with a red back bitter hat on who thinks they're the fucking best thing out.
It's true. I do.
So thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a really cool chat.
It has. Guys, that's the end of our chat. If you want to have a like, a listen, a shout, a share, we'll put up details of the Buttery on their socials, and how you can get in touch with them if you have a tiny human that is interested in playing some beats. And that's all I've got.
That's it.
You got some drums to go and play or something, or Guys, thank you for listening, and keep listening to other episodes, and we'll see you all later. Goodbye.